Welcome to this episode of All Hands on Tech, where we explore the connected job site. Today we're going to be talking with Devin Gray with FieldWire, Phil Rosso with Caterpillar, Zachary Scheel with Rumbix, who isn't here right now because his airplane did have some technical difficulties, but hopefully will join us here later on. We're going to start off first, though, with Brendan Stewart, the co-founder of AeroVista. So, Brendan, take it away.
Brendan Stewart. I'm one of the co-founders of AeroVista Innovations, and I'm also a multi-rotor pilot. I've been flying for 8 years, and I have accumulated in those years 2,500 hours of multi-rotor time. To put that in perspective, you need about 1,500 hours of airplane time to be flying for an airline, and I fly manned aircraft as well, so flight is kind of in my blood. So who am I with? AeroVista Innovations is a leader in unmanned flight training and flight services. We provide the AeroVista Drone Academy, which provides flight school and ground school for commercial, civil, and recreational UAV pilots. We also provide consulting and process development for companies that want to bring in the technology in-house. And we also do flight services. We can fly the job site for you while your company scales up and brings the technology on board. So why do drones matter? 3 reasons: cost, efficiency, and safety. We can decrease cost, increase efficiency, and increase margins of safety. Commercial drones are used for a number of reasons. The 2 big ones that we're really worried about are construction and architecture, and utility and infrastructure inspections. Starting with the construction, got a video here to show you guys. We can fly over a job site, do assessments of what's going on, where's equipment moving, where are personnel moving, etc. We can create 3D models of the site called point clouds or digital surface models. We can do elevation contouring as well to help in the pre-construction process. And we can bring all of that into building information management software to allow you to design your building based on the information that's already available there. From the utility and infrastructure inspections perspective, we do a lot of work surveying power infrastructure, like wind turbines, solar, etc. The reason for this is we can be a lot safer than climbing to the top of a tower to see what's going on. We can bring an aircraft there a lot quicker, we can increase that efficiency a lot more, and we can do it significantly safer. We can do that from a couple of perspectives. We can visually fly over the site. We can also fly over with a thermal imaging camera to detect any heating or energy transfer inefficiencies that might exist. So what about construction? Why are drones used for construction? Well, what we're looking at right now are 2 of the major output products that are used for a construction process. The one on your right is called an orthomosaic. This might be a map that you're familiar with Google Maps. It's geo-referenced. It gives you an idea of what's going on your site, and it's also 100% measurable as well. Moving over to the right-hand side, this is called a digital surface model. What this model is used for is determining that elevation coordinates as well. We can tell volumes, cut and fill volumes, figuring out how much dirt we need to move to level a site. We can figure out how much we might need to dig out to build a foundation, etc. Remember, we're taking the real data that exists in the world around us and we're bringing that into our BIM modeling programs or our VDC programs to give us better cost estimation when we're building out the site. Another good use for this technology, and one we do quite frequently, is materials management. So one of the things that this technology is greatly adapted to do is plot that z-axis coordinate, so plot the altitude of anything that might be on the ground. So imagine you have a construction site with piles of materials that we want to survey. We can fly over and create a 3D point cloud model, and then we can assess, based on what's on the site, exactly within about 1 cubic foot of accuracy what's available there. We can also figure out how much we need to remove to level it, and etc. Also, inspections. From a thermal imaging standpoint, inspections are very, very important. We can use both visual data and thermal data to look at essentially any power infrastructure, things that are transferring energy from one place to another. If you look at the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a thermal image of some solar panels. What we were able to do here is we flew over the solar fields, and if you look carefully, there are some lighter sections in those solar panels. Those areas are significantly hotter. When solar panels burn out, they get significantly hotter. The efficiency of the panel is decreased. We could pick all of those out with thermal imaging in a flyover almost immediately. We can also then take that thermal image and create that into a 3D model in the thermal imaging spectrum. What that allows us to do is assess the heating and cooling efficiency on a building so that when heat or cool air is escaping, we can detect that and we can send a crew to immediately seal that and solve the problem. So here's a case study. This is the mapping of a beach that we did for a beach construction company along the North Shore of Lake Michigan. What you're looking at now is the three-dimensional point cloud model of the site. Now we've set it to elevation contouring here. This is extremely important because the ground surveyor that was picking this operation was only able to give contour lines. Now the construction company didn't want to use contour lines. They wanted to use the 3D model to bring into their BIM. So we created that for them. And also, notice the slope here going from the red side to the blue side where the water is. That is highly susceptible to erosion. So based on the data that we were able to get from aircraft like these, we were able to plot how much gradation there was from one side of the site to the other and prevent some of those erosion problems that could have occurred. Another one of these, here's another case study we did of a thermal inspection of a building. Now this building is a 60,000 square foot warehouse. It's designed for heating and, cooling for food products. Essentially the inside of the building is at 48 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you look there toward the blue section where that door is, you'll see a lot of cold air escaping both from the door and both from the panels that the building is constructed out of. Now, imagine how much it costs to heat and cool an office building. That much heat is escaping out of that warehouse. And we can provide a significant amount of cost savings by finding those and sealing those with the information from our unmanned aircraft platforms. Another important thing to note, and an interesting thing about this site, is the operation at this site occurred about 1,500 feet from an active runway at one of the nation's busiest airports. So the importance of having a trained pilot who's capable of interfacing with air traffic control and making the proper calls to not only stay legal and safe, but provide the data that your site and your workflow needs is absolutely paramount. So in summary, the three reasons that drones matter: we lower cost, we increase efficiency, and we significantly increase safety. The margin of the barrier for entry for drones is lower than it has ever been, but the barrier of success is still significantly higher. The key is making sure that your pilot is educated to produce the data workflow that your site needs to stay efficient. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten calls from construction companies and other enterprise companies that are using data from other drone pilots who are not educated that need us to fix it and correct the data. We use the phrase garbage in, garbage out. Sometimes if the data is not acquired correctly, it may require a reshoot. That can double or triple your cost. So that's why it's always important to make sure that your drone operators are both proficient, trained, and safe. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you, Brendan. A lot of cool things we learned from your little demonstration. What I wanted to talk about, I have a couple questions of my own.
Absolutely.
First was, I wanted to talk about the Drone Academy, because I think that's that's huge as far as people being able to actually be able to fly these on their own, like you had said, and once they get to that level. Did you set that up? I know, I think it was in June, Part 107 regulations came out. Was that able to take place after Part 107, or did you have that prior?
We actually had that prior. So essentially, we got our first flight permissions on March 10th of this year. And before that, the regulations were significantly more constricting. You had to fly under something called Section 333, which required a manned pilot's license. So the regulations went from way up here to way down here with Part 107. So we don't have to train people on the regulations as much as we used to, but the real key is making sure that the pilot is educated through the operational workflow so that they can collect the data. You can get almost anybody to be proficient in flying one of these, but there's a difference between being proficient and being efficient to get the job done.
Right. So is it mostly like professionals, construction professionals or architecture professionals that are now getting these licenses, that have signed up for the Drone Academy, or can anyone, or individuals just like, hey, I want to fly drones? Are they also?
We get all kinds. We get people from the construction industry very frequently through our commercial course. We also do civil courses for police and fire that want to bring that technology technology in a life-saving capacity into their communities. And we also get a lot of interest from the community where we build STEM programs. We bring STEM programs into the local schools and help educate people about this technology to build the workforce for tomorrow.
Okay, cool. So one thing I pulled from your website was that you guys can do 3D models usually within a day.
Absolutely.
That's awesome for being able to get like a project moving, like without having to have any lag time. It did say that usually, so like what would be the things that might prohibit that from being done within a day?
So the big one that we get all the time is improperly acquired data. So frequently we'll get a company that will give us data and say, hey, can you process this and make a model out of it? Well, if the data wasn't acquired perfectly, that could take time to correct or even require a reshoot. But if we have good data, the only other thing to prevent us from getting that done in a day is weather. So we usually schedule a couple of weather days, and our pilots are always trained to maneuver around any potential weather conflicts with our operation to make sure it goes smoothly.
I'm sure that's extremely useful, definitely.
Absolutely. It takes a little bit of skill to get nailed. But,
yeah. Well, cool. One last thing was, I had done some research, like, because I think it'd be, I know with your drone technology, you can do basically surface level, I know for sure. I know this one, but my question is there any way to get data that what lies beneath the surface to kind of maybe project like, hey, there's a site and we didn't know that 6 inches below we're gonna hit straight rock. Like, is there anything, I think it was ground penetrating radar. Yeah, can you do that with drone technology?
So that's coming. The only ways that we've been able to see below the surface thus far have been with our 3D modeling technology. We can look down through a few inches of water and see the bottom. And with our thermal imagers, we've been able to see, you know, high voltage power lines running underground or high power infrastructure running underground, that sort of a thing. The ground penetrating radar is significantly heavier, so that's shrinking right now and being added to drone technology. We're looking to see that within the next year or two.
Okay, well, very cool. Well, thank you again for speaking about your technologies. We're going to actually catch up later, but first we're going to go to a commercial break, and next we'll have Devin Gray with FieldWire, so stay tuned.
The Procore Construction Health Indicator is how we take a daily pulse of the construction industry. Powered by Graphic and their super smart data scientists, we pull together tons of economic data from every corner of the web and turn that data into a single number. We start with 3 major indicators of construction industry health: labor, commodities, and investments. We run these typically disconnected numbers through a mathematical filter and end up with national and regional health scores ranging from 60 to 100. Information and statistics are great, but at the end of the day, it's not the numbers that are important, but what those numbers mean to you. And that's what the health indicator offers. Meaningful data, served up how you need it, when you need it. You keep building, we'll keep crunching the numbers, and we'll meet you back here daily as scores refresh.
We have Devin Gray here with FieldWire. He's going to give a demonstration of his technology, but I do want to make sure that everyone knows, please leave your comments and questions in the live stream section. That way, at the very end, if you have a question that we ourselves cannot answer, we can get to it with one of these guys if it's specifically directed towards somebody or if it's just an overall general question. But okay, I'll get off the screen so Devin can take it away.
Thanks, Alexis. Wanted to show you guys a little bit about FieldWire, and really FieldWire is a product that's designed to do 3 things for the construction industry and for contractors. So the first thing that we do is we help contractors actually view their plans out in the field from any mobile device, whether it's iOS, Android, Mac, PC, doesn't matter. Contractors are still able to view their drawings and even do it when they're offline. So when you're out in the middle of nowhere with no internet connection, no worries, you still have access to all your critical project information. The second thing that we help our customers do is actually manage their day-to-day tasks. So they're able to take what's going on day-to-day on the field, out in the field, and actually manage those tasks very easily. And the third thing that we help our customers do is actually manage and track issues. So typically on a construction site, that actually equates to tracking their punch list. So I'll take a second to actually walk you through a little bit of our product and show you what it does. As you can see from our interface here, we make it extremely easy to view all of your drawings. And when we bring in and import your drawings from a number of different sources, we do three pieces of quote-unquote magic. So the first thing that we do is we use our proprietary character recognition software to come down here to the bottom right of your drawings, find your sheet number for you, and actually name your sheets. The second thing that we do is we scan through the rest of your document, and we find any callouts to those sheets. So in that case, we'll find those callouts, and we'll automatically create hyperlinks so that you can jump between one drawing and another very, very quickly without having to pinch a whole bunch of sheets in between your fingers and flip between the drawings like maybe you're used to on a construction site. And then the third thing that we do is we process your drawings in such a way that A, we take up a minimal amount of space on your device, but B, and more importantly, we make it extremely easy to view your drawings even if you're offline. So again, whether you're out in the middle of nowhere, whether you're 20 feet subgrade, or even if you're up in the air on an airplane, you're still able to access all of your project information, update it, make comments on it, and sync with your whole team. So that's what we do when we process your drawings. On the drawings themselves, we give you a number of different tools to mark them up, and I'm not going to take any of your time today to show you how that works. But what I will focus on is our ability to manage your tasks. Now, the way we see it, on any construction project, there's hundreds, sometimes thousands of conversations going on, and typically there are dozens of parties involved in those conversations. What we've aimed to do, and what our real mission is here at FieldWire, is take all of those conversations and make sure that they have all of the appropriate photos, people, files, and attachments linked to them. But most importantly, as we know with construction, all of those conversations involve one area of the building. So we allow you to actually take those conversations and pin them to your drawings. So quite simply, I can drop a pin anywhere on my project and go ahead and assign perhaps a priority level, a category, which is typically your divisions of labor, and even an assignee. And the neat thing about actually assigning one of these tasks to somebody on your own team or even a subcontractor is that they receive an instant notification that they have work to get done. So I'll take a second to show you how these notifications work. So you're now able to see my iPad, and you can see we've got an all-hands-on-tech conference here to attend with Built Worlds today. And quite simply, I can swipe there to open my FieldWire app. Now on the app itself, everything looks, feels, and functions exactly the same as it does on the web. And that's absolutely critical because while there is some extremely sophisticated technology going on underneath the surface with FieldWire, what we've really aimed to do is make our app as easy to use as possible for people who have been out in the field for, in some cases, 10, 20, 30 years, and often are adverse to using new technology. So on these plans, you can swipe between them. We manage different versions of your drawings, so you can easily look at the old versions and compare them to the new ones. But most importantly, I can track my work. So the workflow typically involves being able to manage a checklist with your project. Go ahead and take some notes on your iPad. In fact, we can leverage the talk to type feature and let everybody know I'm at Built Worlds today. And we can also go ahead and attach some photos of our lovely audience. So it's extremely easy to use FieldWire. It's extremely easy to indicate what's going on your project, and very easy to have all of the information stored in one location. Now, as a contractor, when I'm out in the field and I get this work assigned to me and I'm notified that I have this work, the first thing that I do is I want to go out there and get it done. And as soon as I'm done, I simply click that green check mark, and it's going to notify my project manager or administrator that my work is complete. Now, the nice thing about FieldWire is we make it very, very easy to see what's going on across your project, not just today, but over the following weeks as well. So we're a great task management solution to look into the future and see what's coming up on your project. So on our task dashboard, you can see all of the different things that are happening across your project, but we want to make it easy to filter. So you can filter down by different divisions of labor, and I can even look at a calendar view to, again, see what's coming up over the coming weeks. So for example, I may see that I have a drywall installation scheduled for this Thursday, but I know that my guys are not ready to get that done. So I can simply drag it to Saturday, assign a little weekend work for some of my team, and they'll get instantly notified that this work has been reassigned to them. So we're giving you the speed of email and text message combined with the functionality of having all of your drawings available to you and all of your conversations linked to those drawings. And that is essentially FieldWire in a nutshell.
All right, great. Thank you, Devin. So I have some questions for you
Sure.
as well. I pulled a quote from your guys' website. I believe it was from a customer of y'all's, and it said, "Our field staff used to spend 10 hours a week behind a computer. Now they spend it on the job site." So for a little clarification on that, does that mean that they can do all of their computer work now mobilely, or is it because using your app, they just save that much time?
You know, it's actually a combination of both.
Okay.
And so what we're able to do is again, as I mentioned, we're all about field functionality. We want people to have all the power that they've typically had in a computer, but available to them on their cell phone and on their tablet that they already have as they're walking around the site. So that's the first part of it, is being able to take some of those tasks you were doing on your computer and now do them while you're on site. But the second part of it is we truly are saving people's time. It's unbelievable. We have a customer actually that was typically spending 3 hours to do their inspection. So they'd start at the top of the building, they'd walk down the whole building, they'd take their notes, then they'd go back to the trailer, they'd generate some reports, they'd email that off to all their subcontractors, and that on average took them, they're very specific, it took them 183 minutes, so a little over 3 hours to do that. Once they started utilizing FieldWire for that same process, not only were they able to reduce that process down to 61 minutes, so an actual savings of 2 hours for each one of these inspections that they're doing multiple times a week, but they've got a lot more speed to it as well. So if I'm walking from the top of the building down and I spot an issue and I go ahead and assign that to my electrical contractor, by the time I finish my inspection at the bottom of the building, it's fair to assume that not only has that electrical contractor already received that issue and addressed it, but in some cases they've already resolved it and fixed it. So it's truly speeding up what's going on a job site.
Have y'all heard any comments from not just y'all's clients, but the people who that's affecting? So like in one of those cases, the people who are getting the inspection, to be like, wow, this took like so much, you know, a lot less time than it normally does. I don't know if there's any way.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. When we started our company, we certainly saw general contractors as our prime market, but what we found is that really anybody who's involved in a construction project can benefit from using FieldWire, whether they're the owner, the architect, the engineer, the GC, or the sub. And so we're finding great returns for every level of the project.
Okay, yeah, I would assume so, definitely.
Yeah.
So after your presentation and just kind of the sense that I have, like y'all being a project management software system, you basically are taking your project from the design process and seeing it, you can manage it all the way to the very end process. So it's almost like you have everything there through the entire project. Did y'all mean to do that way? Like, is it easier? Like, what are the benefits of not having to go through all these different little applications, but instead you have one, you go to FieldWire and it's all there. Like, you have your designs, you have your markups, you have, you know, which project is assigned to which person is, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we do represent a historical archive for projects, and it's unbelievable the way that people continue to leverage the information even after completion of the building as a facilities management tool as well. But we didn't design our product with really the project in mind. We designed it with the people in mind. And so we thought first about who is the person who's been spending 30 years on a job site, who maybe isn't comfortable using technology, and who 2 years ago their boss was saying, these guys will never use a cell phone or an application to get their work done. So we built it for them, and as we found out, it's really applicable for everybody.
So everyone can pretty much, it's pretty easy to use. I know you had said that, but I mean, there's not much curve time as far as like getting up and running with it?
No, it's unbelievable. I mean, our support team and our success team are really excellent in terms of working with our customers. But what we found is that actually very few of our customers need to use our resources to get up and running on the product. Where they come to us is actually to help establish workflows. So after they've gotten comfortable using the product, they want to improve the existing workflows that they have and actually use FieldWire to do that.
Oh, very cool. So one last one for you. You know, I know there are several other project management softwares or technologies out there, but how does FieldWire differentiate themselves? How do y'all differentiate yourselves from the rest of those?
Yeah, it's a very common misconception that we get grouped into the project management
I'm
group
sorry,
that.
Bill.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We
Well,
deal
this is
with it all
why
the
we
time.
explain it, right?
And so what we really are is a task management solution. And that's what makes us very different, is that we're built as a field execution piece, so that the actual superintendents and foremen who are out there, turning wrenches and swinging hammers are able to use our tool to manage what they're actually doing day to day. And so we're not as concerned about what's happening at a macro level in terms of, time planning or scheduling or resource allocation. We're more concerned about making sure that the actual tasks that are getting done day to day are being done very efficiently, so that we can actually stay on schedule, stay on budget, and stay on track with our project, and hopefully deliver it quickly.
Okay, well, thank you again, Devin. And remember, it is task management, not project management, like I was saying earlier. So thank you again. And we're going to take another commercial break. And following that, we're going to have Phil Rosso with Caterpillar talking about their rough, awesome smartphone.
To do more with thermal imaging on the CAT S60, you may want to download the FLIR Tools app from Google Play. Once you've downloaded FLIR Tools, you'll be able to find it in the app launcher. Start FLIR Tools and you'll see a selection of images that you've taken on the thermal camera. If you want to export one of these in a PDF report, you can select an image and hit the PDF generation icon in the bottom left corner. This will select or place that image and the original image, so the visual image, into a PDF report. You can select from a range of different templates. You can also add notes and annotate the view and change the title of the report. In addition, you can also edit the image. You can add additional spot meters to the display that can be moved around. These can include regions of interest as well that can be repositioned and resized. You can also change the colour palettes on the display as well to a range of different colours. You may also want to edit the way that the visual and thermal images are combined to show detail on the display. You can strengthen the MSX. MSX is the edging detail taken from the visual image and overlaid on top of the thermal image. You can strengthen or weaken that here. You can also change from a range of different views or just show the original static image. Those are just some of the many features within FLIR Tools, an app that will allow you to do a lot more with your thermal imaging.
All right, we're back here with Phil Rosso from Caterpillar, and they're going to be talking about their rugged smartphone. This, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the S60, which is y'all's newest model, correct?
So the S60 is our newest model phone. Caterpillar came out with a line of smartphones. About 4 years ago, we came out with a great line of rugged, durable phones, and both feature phones as well as smartphones.
Oh, okay. There we go. So is this one out on the market yet?
This is out. So we launched this in Europe in June. So if you're in Europe, you can order it. And we're in the pre-stage right now for ordering. If you go to catphones.com, you can order the phone and it'll ship it to you in September. So
why don't you tell us some of the things, some of the specs about the phone that makes it unique from other smartphones, like why someone would use it on the job site. And so yeah, let's start with that.
No, great question. So everyone knows Caterpillar for their rugged machines, durable. We've been making tractors and wheel loaders and things for almost 100 years now. So a few years ago, we hooked up with a company called Bullet Group in the UK, and they helped us design a phone. So we licensed the Cat brand to them, and they've got a team of many great people and engineers around the world that work on the phone. So we came up with a line of rugged phones that you can use on the construction site, on a job site, or just some of our big customers are in the Nordics and where they're skiing and it's cold and wet and they can drop the phone in the snow, and we have wet finger tracking. So there's so many other things besides just being a smartphone that you can use our phone for.
So I think one of the specs there is IP68. Did I get that right?
You're right. So IP,
Yeah.
it's intrusion protection.
Okay.
So it's a standard around the world, and we are at IP68. So the 6 stands for what you can put into an object. It doesn't have to be a phone, it could be any object. And it's 6 is the highest level you can be, and that means it's dust proof. Dust or anything is not going to get into the phone. And the 8 is for water resistance. So you can take our phone, put it underwater for an hour at 15 feet.
Wow, that's incredible.
Which means you can take videos underwater, you can take pictures, and I mentioned it has wet finger tracking. So while you're underwater, you can use the phone with your wet finger.
Do you have any underwater videos, like from some vacation or no?
Not that I
I'm
can
just
show you
kidding.
now, but yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. So as far as durability, if it's dropped,
So it's up to about 5.5 feet. You can
Wow.
drop it. It's tested
Okay.
at that level, right? So it's perfect for a guy who's working a construction site, or maybe a heating and air conditioning guy that's in your basement that would drop it on concrete, things like that.
okay, awesome. So question on the actual capability of the phone. Is it like a normal, like your regular smartphone, like your regular Android phone or maybe an iPhone where you can get apps, your normal apps like Facebook, Snapchat, you know, maybe like FieldWire or something
Super.
like that?
You can get FieldWire on your phone, right? So it's an Android phone. It's running Marshmallow, and you can go to the Google Play Store and download your Facebook or any apps. But we also have our app toolbox where we've curated apps that would appeal to construction people in heavy industry. So there's apps that are safe that you can use, you can download right to your phone. So it's like any other Android smartphone.
Okay. Who would you say is like then your biggest client? Like, is it the superintendent, or is it the worker, or is it the, you know, the one-man kind of show who does everything, you know, on it, like man in a van kind of thing? Like, who's?
I think that's a great question. It could be all of the above. So some people at the airport in Berlin, they all use our phone there. So
Okay.
airport workers, it could be the one guy in his van. And the great thing about using our phone is if the one guy in the van breaks his phone or it's down, his work has to stop. His job will stop. So with our phone, you can drop it. It's rugged. People spend in the U.S. $3 billion a year on average to repair or replace your cell phone. That's a lot of money, right? So we've come up with a phone that's rugged. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to buy a case and wrap it in the phone. Our phone is basically in a case. It's an aluminum case. You can drop it, you can put it underwater, and it runs just like a regular smartphone.
I think a lot of regular average users would need that too, because I know one drop and it's like screen cracked and it's ridiculous.
So we have Gorilla Glass 4 on our screen, so
There we
it's
go.
great.
So it'll withstand those for
Exactly.
sure. So we talked about the wear and tear. What is, if it's okay to talk about this, what's the price point on one of these right now?
There's no secret. It's $599 US dollars, and you can order it right now, right?
Okay.
And that's a pretty typical price for a phone, but remember, a lot of people will buy a phone, which is basically a piece of glass, and they'll wrap a $100 case on it. So ours is already wrapped in a rugged case. It's all built together, and it's $599, yeah.
And then what is one additional feature that we haven't yet talked about, but it's pretty big about this phone? I think you're ready to show it.
The coolest feature, I don't know if you can see here, you can see both of us on the phone. So we are the first phone with a FLIR thermal imaging camera. So you can take this and you can look at people, you can see, you know, how hot things are, but just like we talked about earlier with the drones, you can take this into a warehouse. You can look in windows and see where your cold air is escaping through the windows. An electrician can take it, look in an electrical box and see which circuits are overheating. Maybe you even want to hang a picture and you might be a water pipe behind the wall. Now we can't see through walls, but we can see hot water pipes and cold water pipes depending on where they're at. Or if water is leaking, you can see that as well. So lots of uses. Or a cool use that I've done, if you have a propane tank in your backyard, you can take the phone, hold it up to your tank, and you can see the level of your tank. Because there's a temperature differential between where the LP is and where it's not. So little things like that. Or I'll give you another one. Your backyard, your dog is lost and it's night. You can go in your backyard and you can see your dog.
Nice.
It works up to 100 feet away.
Oh, 100 feet. Okay,
100
I
feet.
did not
Yeah,
know that.
yeah,
That's
sure.
very cool. Well, we were talking earlier how we were going to dub this hashtag Thermies is what we're going to do. You see this? It's going to become a thing now. Well, thanks. We're going to go to one more commercial break and then we'll sit down with everyone, including Zach Scheel from Rumbix. He is going to be joining us, which we're very excited about. He made it here safely, so you guys don't have to worry anymore. All right, well, we'll catch you then.
project is only as good as the documents that we're able to provide, right down to the guy who's installing a light fixture.
In the old days, you go out to site and you look at the guys that are actually building the space. They're out there with the wrong set of drawings.
You can't have an architect doing their job over here, and the contractor doing his job over here, and the owner doing his job over here. You want everyone to just stop working in their silos and work together.
Not only does our internal team use Newforma, but then also our consultants. Sometimes there could be up to 15 or 20 different consultants working on the same project.
When somebody joins a project, they know exactly where to go.
Being able to give the end users the ability to take care of themselves was very beneficial.
We looked like rock stars in front of our client, just because we had our stuff together.
Welcome back. We're here with Zach Scheel, co-founder and CEO of Rumpix. Zach, thank you for joining us. We're glad you made it here safely.
Me too.
There's nothing too serious with the safety valve, thank you, of the plane. All right, well, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away, if that's okay.
Great, thanks, Alexis.
Yeah.
Hey there, my name is Zach Scheel, co-founder and CEO of Rumpix. And so Rumpix is a workforce telematics platform. Similar to the way equipment telematics systems collect data both passively and actively from equipment and give you information on how to utilize them better. Rumpix is a smartphone-based application that is used primarily by foremen and crew members to collect information both passively and actively that then is fed into a web app dashboard for project administrators and project managers to have much better visibility into actual construction costs and production on a daily basis. So essentially, we're replacing the little black book that all foremen carry around on the job sites with the app I'm about to show you, which structures all the data in a way that we're able to accrue hours and quantities towards cost codes on construction to be able to provide daily visibility into production output. So what you'll see here on the screen, on the right side of the screen I have the phone app, and then on the left side is the web app. So first I'm going to go through the phone app. This is the foreman screen that he or she will see when they're beginning their workday. There's a view actions required, which is telling me that I have unsigned time cards that I need to have signed from the previous day. It also shows you the weather. There's the ability for the foreman to switch projects and move to other ones, as well as set up the standard hours for the work shift. with break times and lunch, and we're able to toggle those on and off depending on how you do your timekeeping, whether you're accounting for those hours against cost codes or not. So we'll go ahead and start a work shift here, and what you're seeing is the ability for the foreman to pick up workers and select his or her crew for the day, as well as select the cost codes that they'll be working on. And so now you've got the work shift all ready to begin. The foreman's going to start the work shift. We understand that a lot of times the foreman will get the crew started and then they'll bring out their app afterwards. So we allow them to default back to the 7 a.m. start time that he or she selected. And so with that, we'll be able to start the work time. So right now, it's giving me a warning screen. It says I have 3 workers that are unassigned to cost codes. And so this is what the foreman in real time will be going through and doing real-time cost coding instead of doing it at the end of the day or end of the week. So I'm going to assign myself to supervision. Next, I'm going to assign both Chris and John to the 4,000 PSI concrete. And so what you'll see now is the stopwatch begins accruing hours to those cost codes. And so this is what we mean by real-time cost coding. We build in the ability for the foreman anytime they want throughout the day to adjust those hours. And so we can go in and if I was stepped away from the job site and needed to adjust those hours and go back, I could put myself 8 hours for the day on the supervision. I can save that. It also allows me to select multiple workers at once. So if both John and Chris were working on that concrete for the entire 8 hours for that day. Give it a second here with the Wi-Fi. I can go ahead and throw down 8 hours, and let's say they had 2 hours on overtime as well. So we're able to save those changes, and they're able to do all of their timekeeping daily throughout the day. On average, we're seeing foremen spend 5 to 7 minutes doing their time card. So this is compared to a total of 25 to 30 minutes per week, compared to 2 to 3 hours is what we're hearing currently. Additionally, throughout the day, the foremen have the ability to create notes in the application. So they're able to select delays, and we pre-populate with lists of common delays on job sites. Let's say we had a crew in the way. This is where our product is really differentiated in that you're able to associate delays with the specific cost codes. And so this helps your estimators when forecasting and bidding future jobs to really be able to slice and dice their historic unit rates to see what the true impact of work was and what their real true baseline unit rates were for construction. So I'm going to say that there was a delay. We had a crew in the way, and it affected my ability to place that concrete. And like FieldWire and a couple of the other apps you've seen, we have the ability to go ahead and attach photos. So we're going to save that note. Well, you can see my security delay back at the office in San Francisco. We'll add another note here and show you the quantities tracking, which is another unique feature we have. So this allows you to charge quantities to the cost codes as they're installed daily. So let's say today that 8 hours of standard time and 2 hours of overtime, we placed 100 cubic yards of concrete. We're able to save that note, and that'll get attached to the notes on the daily time card. So what I'll take you through now is I'll take you through the sign out procedure, and then we're going to shift over and look at the web app and what this information looks like to the project administrator. So the foreman, when they are ready to end the day, they will end the workday, and gives them the ability, one final time to adjust the hours should they need to adjust them from what was submitted throughout the day. I already did that adjustment previously, so we're going to go ahead and submit. So it tells me crew members are notified, and so what's going on now is I myself as the foreman am a crew member, so I'm going to go through the end of day sign out procedure. So for companies that are involved in OSHA's voluntary protection program, we have the ability to customize all the questions, and so for this one it's for OSHA VPP. It's asking if you stretched and flexed today. I'm going to go ahead and say yes I did. Were you injured today? No, I was not. And did you receive your breaks today? Yes, I did. So this, as the worker, is my sign-out screen, and this is something that I'm able to see on my personal Rumbix profile every day that was worked and the hours that were submitted for me, and whether or not they were changed after the fact by the foreman, so that I know when I get my time card or paycheck at the end of the week that it matches up with the hours I was expecting to be paid for. So we'll go ahead and sign this time card here. There we go. And so what you're seeing now is it's going to bring up the crew shift summary. So today I logged a total of 28 hours across 2 cost codes, supervision and concrete. And what our app builds in is the ability for the foreman at the end of the day to hand the phone to each of the workers to sign their time cards. We also have the ability to turn off the end of day signature requirement if you're in a environment where that's not required. And or the workers can also download our app and sign digitally from their phones if they don't want to wait in line to use the foreman's app or iPad at the end of the day. So for Chris, we're going to go ahead and say, you know, I'm Chris, and I'm going to go look at it. Are these hours correct? If Chris wants to dispute this, he could say, actually, I had 2.5 hours of overtime. I came in a half an hour early and did some housekeeping. I don't think the foreman remembered it, so I'm going to let him know. So did you stretch and flex prior to work? Yes. Were you injured? Nope. Did you get your breaks? Yes. And Chris Burns is going to accept that. So it's asking me to hand the phone back to the foreman. What you'll see here is Chris Burns now shows up as under review. So this is when the foreman's able to open up that item and see that the foreman reported 10 hours of work, but Chris actually said he worked 10.5 hours. And I'll say, oh yeah, I forgot that Chris had him come in early, so we're going to go ahead with that. Then it's telling me I have another half hour that I need assigned to these cost codes. And so I'll go ahead and throw that on the concrete cost code and save those changes. And it's, well, that's loading up. We can go ahead and go back to my home screen here. So that's all I'm going to do in the phone app, and I'll move over to the web app now and show you what this looks like. So on the web app here, I'm on the Marin School, and you can see Tuesday, 8/2, I have 3 people that work today, myself, and then John Cleese and Chris Burns. You're able to see the cost codes that these individuals work throughout the day. Here you've got a breakdown of standard time, overtime, double time. And so this is the weekly view of the timesheet, and for any of these days you're able to go in and see the daily view. So this is the timesheet I just went through on the phone. You can see here John Cleese hasn't signed his card yet, so that's still pending. I'm able to review, you know, 2/3 of us have reported that we did stretch and flex, we got our breaks, and we weren't injured. And you're able to see all of the notes that were taken through the day, the notes on the crew, as well as the quantities that were installed. And so with the quantities, what we do then is we work with your company to upload control level budgets. And so what you're seeing here is a screen. This is what we mean by workforce telematics. And so what this screen is we have daily budget versus actual calculations. So the days in the green are where the contractor made money, and the days in the red are where the contractor lost money. We're able to look at your top 5 most active cost codes are highlighted, and then we have all this quantity production information down here. So for those of you that don't come from a project controls background, this might look a little foreign, but basically we're able to upload all your budgeted quantities, units, projected man hours, and projected unit rate. We show you the past week, job to date. We show you daily calculations of % complete in terms of man hours, % complete in terms of quantities. We're able to show you historically how that unit rate and production rate for each of those cost codes has varied over the course of the project to see if you're trending positively or negatively, if it's a highly variable unit rate or something that's relatively uniform. And then we're able to give you daily projected gain and loss on each of those cost codes. So, you know, with this screen, we're able to provide unprecedented levels of visibility on a daily basis in real time into whether or not the contractor is making or losing money. You know, at the end of the day, we measure success by the dollars we save our contractors. We're really laser focused at looking at labor productivity and trying to buck the trend of stagnation that we've had in the construction industry for the past 60 years. So this is the app that's commercially available on our website today, primarily used by subcontractors and self-performed divisions within general contractors. And then I'll show you a video here. We also offer productivity consulting services for larger general contractors and EPC firms. And this is where we'll work with you. It uses our standard commercial app as a foundational piece to collect the data. And then we combine it with a variety of different third-party sensors in order to figure out and help you solve a problem using data. So in this particular example that I'll go to, we were working with Skanska, and they were doing prefab. And so what we did was we actually tracked to 8-inch accuracy the location of the workers doing the prefabrication. Every day we were showing the workers how they moved throughout the day, and the workers themselves were coming up with the process improvement for how do they reorganize and lay out the staging area and the prefab yard in order to become more efficient. So what you're about to see here is over the course of 2 weeks, we shaved 75% off the install time and went from 4 crew members to 2 members. So I'll go ahead and show you this. On the left side of the screen was essentially the first unit, so that's essentially stick building. And then on the right, you're able to see 2 weeks later, and I'll let the video speak for itself and showing the amount of time savings just from eliminating unnecessary trips back to the laydown yard. So again, these are things that we work with a general contractor, a large EPC firm. We were working with 3 different subcontractors on this particular pilot, and we're able to help generate the data that is actionable and insightful for you to be able to improve labor productivity on job sites. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Zach. So one thing I wanted to ask you about was, I know you guys, we had kind of spoken earlier that you guys are, workforce telematics. So if there's no one on the job, like your software starts, your technology starts when people are on the job site.
Labor.
Right, exactly. So can you tell me how your solution kind of plays along with or fits into the other third-party solutions that are task management, kind of like FieldWire is, and project management as well software?
Absolutely. Well, FieldWire is another brick-and-mortar portfolio company, so I imagine we'll have an integration with them before too long. But really, a good way to think of what we do is the last mile of data collection on job sites. We target subcontractors and self-performed craft, and so a lot of solutions are targeted primarily at the general contractors, and that's really an underserved part of the market. So we collect this data from the subcontractors that's then exportable into payroll systems, ERP systems, task management solutions like FieldWire, and other third-party software systems. We really can tailor our exports to anywhere it needs to go. And so we currently export CSVs that are auto-uploadable into your payroll systems. We're building on Procore Connect that should be available fall this year to be able to directly integrate with Procore. So really what we do is a much better job of collecting information structured and labeled in the field and feeding it to other information systems.
And it works seamlessly, right? That's kind of the point, to help make it not more complicated.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Today, the foreman's taking notes throughout the day, and at the end of the week, filling out a paper time card that gets scanned, faxed, taken a picture, and emailed to somebody who's then manually transcribing that information into the computer. Our system does that digitally, instantaneously through the phone every day.
Okay. So kind of, at first sight, I feel like maybe this was just me, but maybe not. It would seem as though like this, I feel like Rumbix is great for kind of like the higher ups to basically keep track of what the work going on. Yeah. And I was going to ask you, like, what would be the benefits then that the worker sees, but you already answered that. You did answer that. So it's obvious that there are benefits, and it seems like there's a conversation. It allows them to have a conversation. I mean, the example that sticks out in my mind is, here's my time card, and then they say, oh, they edited, and then Dave or someone comes back and is like, actually, I worked overtime, so, and then it's pending. So like, were these conversations that happened in person kind of a little maybe less efficiently than say now, where you can just do it all online and kind of?
Absolutely. It creates a great tool for communicating throughout the job site. The project manager knows there's an issue daily. He sees that it hits the production rates that day, and he sees the notes that knows what's associated with it. So there's a lot less kind of yelling at workers, what's going on, a lot less micromanagement of the workers. Additionally, one of our company values is workers first. We understand that it's a two-way street. We have to deliver value to the workers in order for the right to collect this information both passively and actively that helps project management. And so really everything we built, we spent the last 2 years in the field with foremen, getting out there with donuts and coffee at 6 a.m., helping them get set up, and really taking their feedback to heart and the product that we built. And then, we're giving them back 2 to 3 hours at the end of the day to spend with their families instead of doing paperwork now.
And I know that they appreciate that, so that's awesome. Well, thank you again, Zach. After this, we're going to sit down with everyone here from Rumbix, Caterpillar, FieldWire, and AeroVista, so stay tuned, don't go anywhere.
Environment. Well, you're surrounded by it right now. all the buildings, parks, the infrastructure, and the urban planning, investment, and policy that goes into creating the cities of the world. Collectively, it's the world's oldest industry, and for as long as it's been around, things haven't changed much. It's a giant sector of our economy. In 2015, the built environment accounted for $8.5 trillion. But new tech calls for new methods. It's time to move forward. At Built Worlds, we cultivate a smarter built environment and a better approach to creating and maintaining it. Through our website, live streaming network of programming, and our special written features, our mission is to push the industry forward. We do this by stimulating dialogue, facilitating connections, reaching out to future generations, and promoting a deeper understanding of the new and emerging tech applications and possibilities that empower us all. To address the challenges of our evolving built environment, we must put forth and share fresh ideas together. Watch, listen, learn. Built Worlds, building better ideas.
Thank you for joining us. We have everyone sitting down here as we get into the last portion of our question and answer section. We do have some questions from the live stream, but I'm going to let the suspense build a little bit before I ask those. Because one thing I'd like to get into is that, well, as I'm sitting here, and I feel, I kind of get this, I don't want to say overwhelming impression, but if I was at a super on the job site. Like there's all these technologies coming at you from all different directions. And I don't know, I guess my question to you guys is, do y'all ever have that same feeling from supers? Like if anyone wants to jump in here or anyone saying like, there's so many technologies, how do I choose? Like, how do I know which one's right for me? Like if anyone, I'd love to hear what y'all's thoughts are, because that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big education piece that all of us selling technology really have the responsibility of helping teach and show the superintendents, the foremen, even some of the older project managers, the benefits and also just how to use the product and being very hands-on with it, because, I try to put myself in their shoes and it is something you're being asked to do very differently than the way you've done it the rest of your career, and change is never easy. And so, I think that's natural, and then the onus is on us to really work with them to help better understand how to utilize technology on job sites.
I think that's a fantastic question, but with our device, so we're software agnostic. We don't care. You can use any software, anything. If it's on the Google Play, put it on the phone, and we protect it because we've got a rugged phone that you can use on the job site and not worry it's going to break.
So you've got it easy over
here,
Phil,
We got it pretty
easy. Brendan, I saw you shaking your head.
Oh yeah. When it comes to drones always raise eyebrows, right? And when we're flying over a construction site, when we're operating at a construction site, even when we're training operators, there are always people who are interested but a little afraid. They don't know how to bring the technology in. They don't want to be spied on, right? They don't want they don't want people who aren't properly trained doing the flying. So we try to provide solutions for companies to seamlessly bring in this technology and build out aviation divisions, right? Because it's pretty hard for a construction company to now take on not just a new technology, but a new technology that requires a federal level of licensure, right? So we try to smooth out that process and get them as close to the data as they can.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's interesting is that the market certainly is fragmented. There are hundreds of solutions out there for the construction industry today, and so one of the things that we've done at Fieldwire, because again, we work with everybody across the industry, whether they're architects or engineers or contractors, is we provided an open API for our software that allows different customers to actually go out there and figure out how they want to integrate Fieldwire with the existing stack of software that they have to execute the rest of their project easily.
Okay. One thing, Zach, you had touched on was talking about change. One thing I'm sure you probably have all heard this is kind of the fear I don't know about you, Phil, because you do seem to have it easier, but you know, technology in general, right? Is this whole change factor, like, has that been something you all have experienced as far as like some resistance, kind of this fear? And I think you also touched on it, Brendan, but I don't know, like, how do you get past that of showing them like this, you can do this can happen for you guys?
I mean, there's fear, but also when they see the direct benefit to them, there's a lot of excitement as well. We had one foreman who, the Transbay Terminal in San Francisco, large project site, and he has to do parking and toll tickets for his crew every day. And he was showing me the process he did currently, which was a digital camera that he took pictures of each individual parking ticket and then plugged in the memory card to his computer and then dragged the files to a folder, and that's where he put them every day. And I showed him how in Rumbix he could just create a miscellaneous note, call it parking tickets, and take all the pictures with one note. And he was able to do it in about 15 to 20 seconds. And he was like, wow, you just gave me back 20 minutes of my day to do work. That's awesome. And so it's connecting with the workers in ways that the benefit is clear to them. And then they become your biggest proponents to your product.
And that is the key, right? For technology, is for it to make our lives easier, better. And I know we all have to, there's always some adjustment period, for sure. Or at least we hope, right? It's supposed to make ourselves better. One thing I do want to talk, because numbers are always easy to see. So I'd like to go through kind of one by one and just give us like I guess an estimate of what is the cost in basically hours that you basically save with your technology, whether, you know, it's the phone. I know thermal technology is probably not, you know, the cheapest, but now you can have it at your phone, not having to buy a completely different device, having to, you know, so if we could kind of go through that, I think our audience would love to hear that, as well as, yeah, customers.
Right, so a couple of things with our phone, like you said, the thermal camera is built in, so people used to have to buy their own camera and attach it to the phone. So for $599, you get a rugged Android cell phone from Caterpillar with the first thermal imaging camera in the phone. So you're going to save right there. Plus you'll save time. You don't need two devices. And as I said earlier, the U.S. spends over $3 billion a year to fix or replace your phone. So your phone shouldn't break either. So there's lots of savings in working with us.
How much does your standard thermal thermal technology or device cost?
So we partner with FLIR, who's the leader in thermal technology. And they have devices all the way up to thousands of dollars that you can use. And what we partner with them is to come up with a chip that's small enough to put in the phone so it fits in the phone. Part of why you haven't seen it in phones yet is because the chip was too large and the camera was too large and it was too expensive. So we've merged the two together, and finally the time was right where we thought we could put it into a phone.
Okay. Devin, what about you? We had already talked about 10 hours, you know, that number, that there was that one of your clients saved 10 hours with a combination of it just being more efficient and not having to actually be, you know, behind a computer in an office versus actually being on the field. Is that a good number, I guess, an estimate?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit on the high side, but we did a survey with all of our customers at the end of last year, and actually we found out that the average amount of time savings that they found for each one of their users was about 5 hours a week.
Wow.
And you know, our cost point is somewhere in the realm of about $1 a day per user. So when you look at it that way, with the cost of skilled labor today, if a man or woman is able to save even a half hour once throughout the course of the month using FieldWire, we've paid for ourselves in droves.
Yeah, wow, and then I'm sure not to add on the addition that you can do more projects, or more things can get done, the fact that you are saving hours and you're not waiting on other things. So
yeah.
All right, Brendan, what about for you? Hours and cost. What are your clients saving, basically?
So to put this in perspective, when we talk about drones and cost, so to rent a helicopter, last time I rented a helicopter, it cost me $325 an hour just to run the engine, right? And that's before you pay the pilot and before the sensor operator doing the flight. The other piece of this is, while our drones, the physical device that a construction company or construction client or an enterprise client might use is usually in the low thousands of dollars. The data is the key. The time it takes us to process the data is really what's effective. We've worked with a number of companies who tell us that a traditional survey takes 2 to 3 weeks to get all the way through. We can provide that data in an afternoon, like within 8 hours usually, or by the next business day. So, and that data is not just a traditional survey or traditional contour lines. We can export that and bring that into any AutoCAD program, Revit, Autodesk, SolidWorks, and have that immediately usable by the VDC or the BIM division of the company.
That's incredible. Weeks of time saved right there.
Oh yeah.
And I think you had talked about it well in your example. You talked about how you can make this one process just like you're saving, you know, hours.
Yeah, I mean, so on the Foreman's app, 2 to 3 hours per week per foreman. We reduce the project administrator, the payroll admin, reduce their paperwork by 80%. Significant time savings there. The big savings are when you look at the video I showed on the labor productivity consulting study. So on that, we went from 32 hours to 8. So a savings of 24 hours per unit. They now can do 1 unit per day. So over the course of a week, they had 120 hours savings per week, just on that one work element. And so really, when you go and look at all of the data and do it with an objective in mind, and in this particular one, it was how efficient can we be, the cost savings are tremendous in terms of labor productivity.
So we're getting things done.
Yes,
that is
we are.
awesome. That is what we want. That is what we want. Well, to go to kind of go off your last comment, I have a question from you. We're going to get it now to the live stream questions, and I believe one of the questions was, well, I say this from your payroll comment. Do you guys sync up with payroll or payroll software or benefit software, and do y'all offer an open API?
So no open API yet. That is something we'll have in the future. We're still a young company, only 2 years old, so got to get the core product out, and then we'll be able to open up the API. But right now what we do is we work with you to customize a CSV export. That's a one-click export and then a one-click upload into your payroll and accounting software. So JD Edwards, Oracle, Sage, Timberline. We haven't come across one that we haven't been able to integrate with yet. So it's not a direct integration, but it's a much more efficient process than the paper time card and manual transcription of the data.
Definitely, definitely. All right, then I'm going to go over to, we had one over for you, Brendan. So they were wondering what the training program it actually entails and how long does it take?
Well, our training program for commercial operators, which is kind of our basic package for if you've got somebody on the site, maybe a foreman or maybe a manager who's going to be doing this flying that has no experience. Training program takes 2 days. At the end of the flight day, it's a ground school portion, which is a classroom portion, and a flight school portion that's physically take out the aircraft and go learn to fly it. They'll be physically proficient. We recommend they take another 20 to 25 flight hours to really, really get good with the aircraft before they take it out on site. Once they complete our class, they have to take, to become legal, a quick 60-question test with the FAA, but you could reasonably get it done in a weekend.
Okay, there you go. So now people know how to do that.
Yes.
Very awesome. Okay, this one is, let's see here for you, Devin. So the question is, we want to move to a paperless job site, but we're having a hard time getting people to use new technology, kind of like we discussed. Can you talk about how management can improve and increase adoption?
Yeah, I think that it really boils down to one thing. When you take people who generally want to just focus on getting their work done, if you try and have them implement a new tool, it can be difficult. But the way to generally position it that we found to be successful is that we take the existing processes, and Zach alluded to this before, we take the existing processes that they're already doing on the job site and simply make it easier. So we're not trying to give them a new tool to use or add to their day or make it more difficult. We're trying to take things that they've been doing for 100 years on job sites and just make it a lot faster. And once somebody has the opportunity to actually try that out, what we found is actually within a day or two, they're comfortable using the tool.
Okay. It's kind of all about actually using it, right? Versus like,
got to get your hands on it.
Exactly, exactly. So does the app allow users to gather, because this one is also for you, does the app allow users to gather signatures and permissions as needed?
Yeah, actually that is something that we're able to do as well, is go ahead and take sign-off signatures directly from your device and be able to use it that way. In fact, I've seen people use it for their safety meetings. While they're going through their safety meeting, they pass their iPad around the table and have everybody sign off while they're there. So now you have a digital record of that signature, and it's captured for years to come should you have any issues down the road.
Right, that's awesome. Okay, and this one is for you, Phil. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so when the Cat phone does hit the market, where will it be available for purchase?
So right now it's available at catphones.com.
Okay.
It's you can order it today and you'll have it in September. We launched in 70 countries, so in Europe it's available now. It'll be available retail, many different retail stores around the country, but we're a niche phone, right? So we're not going to sell millions of phones like some other people might sell in a weekend. But it'll be at Amazon, at Cat Phones, at other places, and through AT&T and T-Mobile are the carriers that we're working with, and you'll be able to use the phone on their networks.
Okay, great. And then how does it, let's see, how does it hold up to high temps and cold temps? I think you did talk about cold a little bit as far as like dropping it in the phone, but how does it hold up
I think that's a great
extreme?
question. Yeah, it's extreme temperature. So we've made it, like I said, to work in the cold. A lot of people in the Nordics, or many times if you've got a regular phone, you leave it on your dashboard, it's going to get hot and you get that red battery overheating. You're not going to get that with this phone.
Okay. All right, well, great. Well, that actually wraps up today's show. I do want to thank all of our guests here. I think we had some great demonstrations, some great conversation. If you do have any more questions, feel free to leave it on the live stream, and then we can always connect up with these guys and then either post it on social media or however, if you do have more questions that we cannot answer ourselves. I want to thank you all for tuning in and thank our live audience here. I do want to say, if you want to subscribe to more programming, catch more All Hands on Tech, be sure to go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. You can also catch our website at builtworlds.com. Well, that's it for today, and we look forward to seeing you for our next episode of All Hands on Tech.